Protesters arrested after disrupting Minnesota church service in anti-ICE demonstration. In a tense escalation of protests against U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, operations, 2 activists were arrested following a disruption at a church service in St. Paul, Minnesota. The incident, which occurred during a Sunday worship service at City's Church, highlighted sharp divisions over immigration enforcement, the role of federal agents in local communities, and the sanctity of religious spaces. The protest centered on the dual role of one of the church's pastors, David Easterwood, who also serves as the acting director of ICE's St. Paul field office. Demonstrators, led by prominent civil rights attorney and activist Nekima Levy Armstrong, entered the church and interrupted the service by chanting slogans such as "ICE out" and "Justice for Renee Good." Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3, was fatally shot by an ICE officer earlier in January during an immigration enforcement action in Minneapolis. The protesters argued that the pastor's affiliation with ICE represented a fundamental moral conflict, claiming it undermined the church's spiritual mission while an agency they accused of instilling fear in communities operated under his leadership. Nekima Levy Armstrong, a well-known figure in the Twin Cities area and former president of the NAACP's Minneapolis branch, has a long history of activism. She has been involved in protests following high-profile deaths of Black Americans, including those of George Floyd, Philando Castile, and Ja'Mai Clark. Armstrong, who is also an ordained reverend, defended the action as a call for accountability. "You cannot lead a congregation while directing an agency whose actions have cost lives and inflicted fear in our communities," Armstrong stated. When officials protect armed agents, repeatedly refuse meaningful investigation into killings like Renee Good's, and signal they may pursue peaceful protesters and journalists, that is not justice, it is intimidation. The disruption prompted a swift response from federal authorities. The Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation into the protest, with officials considering charges under the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances (FACE) Act, which prohibits obstructing or intimidating individuals seeking to participate in services at houses of worship. On Thursday, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the arrests of Nekima Levy Armstrong and Chantel Louisa Allen, a St. Paul School Board member, describing the event as a coordinated attack on the church. "Listen loud and clear, we do not tolerate attacks on places of worship," Bondi declared in a statement, adding more to come. The arrests drew sharp reactions from various quarters. Prominent leaders in the Southern Baptist Convention defended the church, arguing that while compassion for migrant families is important, it cannot justify violating a sacred space during worship. The incident also sparked controversy involving former CNN anchor Don Lemon, who accompanied protesters and provided live coverage, leading some Trump supporters to call for his arrest under similar statutes. The Justice Department's handling of the case has drawn comparisons and criticism. While it quickly launched an investigation into the church disruption, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche stated there was no basis at present for a civil rights probe into Renee Good's death, asserting the ICE officer acted in self-defense and characterizing Good's actions as an act of domestic terrorism. In a broader context, the Justice Department has also initiated an investigation into whether Minnesota state and local officials, including Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, and St. Paul Mayor Keoli Ha, impeded federal immigration enforcement. Subpoenas have been issued to their offices and those of Ramsey and Hennepin counties. The arrests and ongoing investigations reflect heightened tensions in Minnesota amid a surge in federal immigration actions under the current administration. As the legal proceedings unfold, the incident underscores the clash between protest rights, religious freedom, and aggressive enforcement of immigration policies in community spaces. It remains unclear what specific charges Levy Armstrong and Allen face, but the case signals a firm federal stance against disruptions at places of worship.